Greetings, leaders. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Leadership Is Podcast. I am your host, Jason Muhammad, founder of JM Leadership Development. Today, we're talking about legacy, your legacy of leadership. Happy New You. We're going to be talking about just simply, the legacy that leaders leave. And what does that mean and why is it important? Greetings, leaders. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Leadership Is Podcast. I am your host, Jason Muhammad, founder of JM Leadership Development. Today's discussion, we're talking about legacy accountability leadership. Your legacy leadership. Happy New You. So we have reached 2021 and Happy New Year, by the way, if we haven't said that to you in previous episodes. We've reached 2021. There's a lot to be said about 2020 as we went through one of the most trying and revealing years of the 21st century. We have gone through and still are currently going through this COVID-19 pandemic. We have witnessed a fiasco in politics. We've witnessed so much that has taken place that this time can be considered nothing more than a transition, right? It's described as a transition. It's a shifting of a complete from an old way of doing things to a new way of doing things, better known as the new norm, right? And so, but today's discussion, we're talking about what legacy are you building? What legacy are you building? And why is this important? There are many people in different industries, different genres, who have left behind a legacy. See, legacy simply means what's left behind to continue. That's what a legacy is what's left behind to continue, or will it be continued, or what's left behind to be remembered. Now that can be, what is described as someone's success, or it can also be described as someone's failure. What is the legacy that you're known for, or that you're going to be known for? Examples of some legacy leadership are Martin Luther King Jr., Gandhi, Mother Teresa. That's on a international or world-renowned, legacy. They're known all over the world, right? They left a legacy. Nelson Mandela, all around the world, they're known, right? And Nelson Mandela, as it relates to legacy leadership, is one of the most revered as it relates to legacy leadership because of his tenacity, because of his patience, and because of his big heart, right? So industry leaders, one that really sticks out for me is Herb Kelleher, former Southwest Airlines CEO. He's known, he's really known in the industry of airlines for being one of the best CEOs to ever do it. The way that he made his leadership style personal, right? The way that he involved himself in the lives of his employees, the way that he involved himself in the lives of those that rode his airlines, the care that he took, the patience that he had, the personal investment in the lives of the people that were not only flying or riding, but working the baggage claims, and, the way that he really involved himself in the day. It's not about micromanaging, but it's really about him being a part of the lives of the people, right? Spending time with the people, learning the people that he worked, that work for him, like he really invested in them, right? That's legacy leadership. People that work for him have, good things to say about him, right? So look at the political leaders. You have Barack Obama, and then you have Donald Trump. I'm not one to ever be political, but again, look at the legacies that these two presidents, are leaving behind or have left behind, right? So that's what legacy is. Legacy is what's left behind to continue or be remembered, whether it is someone's description of success or another's description of failure. Now, when we're talking about legacy leadership, we're living in a time where antiquated methods or leadership models that are antiquated can no longer suffice, can no longer solve the problems of today's leadership needs, right? Because, most of the leadership models are based on a time that no longer exists. They're somewhat like in manufacturing, they call them legacy parts, right? Legacy parts are parts that are no longer used or manufactured, right? But, again, they're revered for their awesome work, their awesome, work performance during the time that, those parts were being manufactured or needed. But again, they're legacy parts now, like they're remembered, right? They're to be revered. But again, they're no longer useful in today's modern transition of time. So in your company, in your organization, right, you really have to question, is your leadership model and your leadership development programs, if you even have one, are adequate enough to address leadership needs in 2021? DDI, Development Dimensions International, have this thing that they talk about, the bench. And how many leaders do you have sitting on the bench waiting for their opportunity, or even being used in other leadership capacity within your organization? That if you were to step down, who can step up? Who's adequate? Who's qualified to step up in your position to continue leading the charge? If you're not building other leaders, then you're failing your company. So, legacy leadership. What legacy are you leaving behind in your industry, in the world? How will you be remembered? How will I be remembered as it relates to leadership? Leadership is so much needed now, more than it ever has, because of the transition that has been taking place and is still taking place within organizations, within industries, right? Within the world. Who's going to lead this charge? Who's going to lead us, help to continue to lead us, our organizations, our companies, through this trying crisis and transitional time period? Is your company equipped, right, to navigate through this? And if you think that you are equipped as a leader to navigate your company through this, how many other navigators are you training up within your organization to be able to continue to take this thing even further? That's what legacy leadership is. What legacy are you leaving? That's what legacy accountability leadership is. Happy New Year.
Are you promoting the right people into leadership positions? How do you know? How do you measure the outcomes, and are they the outcomes you're looking for? Please visit www.jmleadershipdevelopment.com. Again, www.jmleadershipdevelopment.com, and request a half-hour conversation to assess if we can address your leadership development needs. Oh, and by the way, always remember that leadership is influence and service.
Thank you for enjoying another episode of Leadership Is Podcast. I work with emerging leaders, high potential employees, and students to develop and embrace a growth mindset for leadership. If you would like for us to do a presentation, keynote your next event, or for a free half-hour conversation, please contact us at jason@jmleadershipconsult.com or visit my website, www.jmleadershipdevelopment.com, or call us at 828-333-7234, and we will respond promptly. Please subscribe to this podcast using the Anchor app or anchor.fm, or you can use Spotify and Apple Podcasts using Jason A. Muhammad. Follow us on social media. Twitter is @LeadershipJM. Facebook and Instagram is JM Leadership Development. And always remember, leadership is influence and service.